The amazing Digital Circus is finally over. So today, we're going through the complete amazing Digital Circus timeline from 1999 all the way to 2017. We'll look at when every character entered the circus, when they abstracted, and how the entire Digital Circus slowly fell apart. Our story begins before the events of Episode 1. According to the series, the Digital Circus first began around 1996. The very first known human to enter was Scratch. Episode 7 tells us that Scratch wasn't just another circus member. Kinger describes him as an incredibly intelligent person who even helped with Kane's development. In other words, Scratch may have played an important role in creating the very world that eventually trapped him. After Scratch entered, 6 more humans eventually joined the circus: Spike, Bisco, Ratty, Queenie, Wormo, and finally, Kinger. For a while, the circus continued growing, but eventually, the first tragedies began. Around the year 2000, Scratch became the first known character to abstract. Episode 7 briefly mentions his abstraction, marking the beginning of a cycle that would continue for years. Not long afterward came Wormo. We never learn exactly how Wormo abstracted, but by looking at his appearance, many fans have speculated that something terrible happened to him before his abstraction. Then, around 2002, Spike also abstracted. Spike's concept art suggests that behind his cheerful smile was someone struggling with deep emotional pain, making his fate even more tragic. Around 2003, Ratty met the same fate. After that, only a handful of the original circus members remained. Bisco survived longer than almost everyone else, lasting until around 2005 before eventually abstracting as well. Then came one of the saddest moments in the timeline. Around 2007, Kinger's wife Queenie abstracted. Episode 8 finally lets us witness this heartbreaking moment, leaving Kinger completely alone inside the circus. At this point, only Kinger and Kane remained from the original group, but the circus didn't stay empty for long. Around 2008, Ragatha entered the Digital Circus and became one of Kinger's first new companions in years. Then, around 2009, Pinky and Clownsy joined the circus. Unfortunately, they didn't survive very long before abstracting as well. Around 2010, Ribbit entered. In 2011, Grinkelda arrived. Then came Shelly. Finally, in 2013, Kaufmo joined the circus. Episode 9 also reveals that Kaufmo's name appears on a C&A employee list, confirming that he worked for the company before becoming trapped inside the Digital Circus. Around 2014, Shelly and Grinkelda both abstracted. Not long afterward, Jax entered the circus. In 2015, Gangle arrived. Then, around 2016, Ribbit abstracted. Episode 9 shows that Ribbit and Jax often argued, leading many fans to wonder if those conflicts may have contributed to Ribbit's emotional decline. However, the exact reason for Ribbit's abstraction has never been officially confirmed. That same year, Zooble also entered the circus. Finally, we reach 2017. Kaufmo abstracted. Shortly afterward, Pomni became the newest human trapped inside the Digital Circus. Gooseworx has confirmed that the main events of the series take place during 2017. Looking back at the timeline, an interesting pattern begins to appear. The original group slowly disappeared. Then, the second generation replaced them. Then, another generation followed. The circus continued repeating the same cycle over and over again. By the finale, the cycle reached Jax. As we saw in Episode 9, Jax came incredibly close to abstracting before Pomni tried to reach him. Although the ending leaves room for interpretation, it perfectly completes the tragic journey that began years earlier with Scratch. From the very first human trapped inside the circus to the final events of 2017. And with the series now officially over, the story comes to an end. But I want to know what you think. Which moment in the entire amazing Digital Circus timeline was the saddest? And if you'd like to see a much longer, more detailed timeline covering every event in the series, let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.